What a lot of people don't understand is the upholding of discipline and structure actually makes you more money. And I think a lot of gym owners fail to understand that. You uphold structure, the consumers love structure and they love discipline. They love professionalism and they're going to pay top dollar for professionalism. And if you can uphold that with your team or the people that work with you, and they understand the benefits because now that money's going in their pockets. Where I had trainers who thought $30, $40 a session was a normal price point are now charging between $100 to $150 a session. And they're like, Mark, we get it now. I'm like, I try to tell you.
This is the Reinforce Your Gym podcast with your host, Dustin Vogel. This show is about arming gym owners with the tools, strategies, and lessons they need to take their business to the next level. That way, they can make a greater impact in their community. Now, let's get to work and reinforce your gym.
All right, gym owners, welcome in for another episode of the Reinforce Your Gym podcast. Got a special guest, a buddy of mine, a leadership expert. He is the founder and CEO of Manifest Fitness Institute, the founder and CEO of Rosen Connect. He's also the owner here locally where I'm at in Dallas. He owns the Self-Made Training Facility franchise location. And we got a big announcement around that franchise as well we'll be talking about. So it includes 3 letters. So that's all we'll say for now. But that is who we got here on the podcast today, guys. And again, it's my special treat to have my buddy Marc Rodriquez on the podcast. So welcome in. Marc, you ready to do this?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Dustin Vogel. Love you dearly. Hey, I'm really excited about this. This is going to be fun. So I'm ready for you.
Let's help these gym owners out, man. But of course,
yes,
the people who are in my audience that don't know your story, of course, that's where all good podcast interviews begin. So I'll let you tell yours. Like, how did you get into fitness? How did you get into business? And again, just like how that all started.
Okay, I'll give you the fast version because it's a lot. So 17 years old, I joined the Marine Corps, United States Marine Corps. I did 21 years and retired in 2017. During that time, I was always into physical fitness. I was a drill instructor. So I trained from 2005 to 2008 in San Diego. And then I also was part of the Staff and CO Academy teaching professional military education. And I was their physical training instructor during that time. And then I ended up into the Marine Corps martial arts program as well. And I was a second degree instructor trainer for that. So I was always into fitness. It was just when I retired at 38 years old in 2017, I was kind of lost. I was a veteran, one of the many that are out there that don't know their next path in life. They have, it's starting over. It's legitimately starting over. So I thought, and I'll speak about that more later, but I was lost. I was like one of those veterans that the Marine Corps was my life. And there was nothing else that I wanted to do more than just be a Marine. And so I am a combat veteran, went to combat as well to our Iraqi war. And, it's what defined me at the time. So a buddy of mine actually, when I was telling him I was retiring, he was like, what are you going to do? And I said, I don't know. And he said, well, you could always become a personal trainer. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, I never thought about that. Sure. So he had been teaching at a school down in San Diego, and he was teaching people through NASM, the National Academy of Sports Medicine, their certified personal training course. And I went, and it was a 6-month course, and I became certified literally like 2 weeks before my actual retirement date, before my end of active service. And during the time I was on terminal leave, vacation, for those that don't know, when you're about to get out and end of active service. And a buddy of mine had told me I should go check out a gym that he works at, or that he was a client at, excuse me. And I said, yeah, sure. I'll go check it out. So I went over there, and it just happened to be Self-Made Training Facility headquarters in Temecula, California. And I walked in, and I was like, man, they had just moved into a 17,000 square foot gym, and from a 3,200 square foot gym, but they had other locations as well across California, SoCal. So I was like, man, this is really nice. What is it? And he said, this is where trainers can become independent contractors. They basically pay to lease the space, and they run their businesses, and, they go forth and do great things. And I said, well, wait a minute. So I would have to pay you or pay the company? to run my business. I got no clients. I got nothing. I got no business. I don't know what I'm doing. I just got a certification. And he said, yeah, that's the beauty of it. I said, well, all right. Didn't sound all appealing to me at first. So I left. I had given him my phone number and I left. And when I was driving down to San Diego, Miguel Aguilar, CEO and founder of the company, reached out to me and said, hey, what do you think about coming and joining, our team here? And I was like, but wait a minute, I got to pay you. And at the time it was $700, so I'm like, I got to pay you $700. And now, mind you, I just retired. So I lost literally $5,000 worth of income just in retirement, because you go from full active duty pay to retirement pay. And I hadn't received my disability claim yet. So I was like, man, I don't know. My wife at the time was active duty. So my wife retired at 22 years, but she retired in 2019. So she was still active duty when I retired. So I was planning on just living off of her, to be honest, and maybe train some clients out of my garage and call it a day. But she was like, nah, you get up off your ass and go get a job, right? So I said, all right, that's fine. So I bit, and it was like, what the hell? Let's try this out. So I started off with 0 clients, 0 everything. And I built my business up within that time. Now, this is 8 years ago, July 23rd, 2017. So I built my business, and sure enough, I was like, I want to elevate. And one of the things that I noticed was a lack of education for the trainers that were in the facility and the trainers across the board. So I decided to solicit myself as the director of education to Miguel Aguilar, the CEO and founder. And he bit and said, okay, cool. That was December of 2019. I was the director of education. I pretty much ran my personal training business while being the director of education. And I worked for free for him. I worked for about 1.5 years for free until finally he was like, wait a minute, you're doing way too much for me not to pay you. So he told me he wanted me on the staff, on corporate staff, and that I had to quit my personal training business. So I said, all right, fine, I'll do that, because I still had online clients. So I wasn't really, tripping about it. And I had built my business from making nothing to making consistently between 8 to 15,000, just depending on, what I was doing a month, extra income. So I was like, that's fine. I'll go ahead and do that. So I did that in August of 21, but I also wanted to be a franchise owner. So I had noticed other franchisees, and I felt like that was my calling, is to be a franchise owner. So I had signed to be a franchise owner at the time of San Diego. And
Well, before you continue the story, I want to do 2 questions there. For the people who don't know the self-made brand and the model, I guess explain that, because it is unique, and I don't think everyone knows the brand.
so Self-Made Training Facility was founded, by Miguel in 2013. Him and his wife were trainers, and they were trying to find a place to work at. And they noticed that at corporate, they were taking 60 to 80% of their commissions for their personal training sessions, and they were paying a minimum wage. Plus, they had to work all types of different hours. So he was like, how that's kind of devaluing the craft and devaluing the person that's actually, performing this very important aspect of life. You think doctors, they're going to prescribe you medication. You think lawyers going to, make sure you uphold the law, but they're also going to defend you. So, but they get paid enormous amounts of money. Where a personal trainer is teaching longevity of life and health and wellness for the better for a lifetime, and they're getting paid pennies. So he made he put things together and was like, I want to make Self-Made Training Facility. So he created it. And at first it was a 3,200 square foot gym in Marietta, California. And he started noticing the traction. He started getting more trainers that were like, yeah, we want to do this. So he built that, plus kind of did an apparel line as well, which is this one right here, SLFMD, which is self-made, but he wanted it to be unique. So it called for people to say, what is that? What does that mean? And so, which he does it. And it's still to this day, people still ask me, what does that mean? And so it's a great marketing tool. But he built that, and then he was like, you know what? Let's see if we could duplicate it. So he went to Corona and built a Self-Made in Corona as a second location, and it flourished. So then he went to Costa Mesa in California and said, I think I could do it here too. And he did, and it flourished. Then he went to Mission Bay in San Diego, and it flourished. And he was like, okay, hold on a minute. We got something going here. And then he did his first official franchise, which was a buddy of his who was like, I want to franchise this, which was in Elk Grove, California, about 8 hours north, SoCal. And even that one was doing really well. So then he decided to move from the 3,200 square foot to 17,000 square foot and then franchise all those existing locations that he had. But then he ended up with his first out-of-state franchise, which was in Columbus, Ohio. And that one was doing well. And he was like, okay, hold on a minute. Then Las Vegas came. And he was like, okay, Las Vegas is doing well. And Phoenix came, and Scottsdale came, and Arizona, and then Dallas, of course, came, and Orlando, Florida came. And so all these different locations started to pop up, and everybody was doing really well at some point. And I'll speak on that here in a little bit. But yeah, at some point they started doing really well, and all of these were flourishing. Multiple SoCal locations were also opening up. So you had San Marcos, and you had Rancho Santa Margarita, you got Hollywood, you got Long Beach, you got Chino Hills, West Covina, Redlands. So all these locations started popping up.
The model is the trainers pay the owner rent, and then they bring their clients in there and they can train them in this open space. But there's also a limit. It's not unlimited trainers. You guys have a limit, and that's kind of like the whole business model, how you actually generate revenue.
Depending on the square footage, it really depends on the square footage of your building. And you start to look at the capacity of what you can have with trainers, and then also the types of trainers. We have all facets of fitness, like every facet of fitness you could think of: bodybuilding, powerlifting, weight loss, athletic training, stretching and recovery. You've got Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you got Muay Thai, you got wrestling. We have boxing rings in our facilities. So we have professional boxers. I mean, we have it all. I mean, everything from A to Z. So
I'm going to have to open one and add some pro wrestling in there, man, like elbow drop.
We actually did. So in Orlando, which is close to AEW's training headquarters and WWE training headquarters, a lot of the trainers actually were at the facility. I actually met Mark Henry in Orlando.
Yeah, that's funny.
But yeah, so you didn't know I was a wrestling fan, huh?
I love it. Well, that's cool. But all right, so that was the first question. The other question is, I wanted to go back to you being director of education. What specifically did you see the trainers lacking in that you felt like you could lead them in and help them grow?
So 2 areas. Number one was health and fitness education, right? One of the things that I remember, I was 38 when I came in. So when I came into fitness in the civilian world, I was 38 years old. So I was a little more seasoned, So my thing is where is the access? So what I couldn't stand was there was a lot of secret society stuff when it came to certifications on the health and fitness side, and I was like, why are you not promoting this to the masses? Well, because we just don't want this for everybody. We just want certain, the people that are serious to do this. And I'm like, who are you to dictate whether they're serious or not? Like, provide them the access to it. And if they get through it, they get through it. If they don't, they don't. But maybe put some prerequisites, but at least let them know, and that annoyed me because I had to dig and peel to find these certifications that would bring more value to not only me as a business owner, but then also to the consumer, to value for the consumer to be able to gain. So I was like, man, why do I have to do this? So what I decided was during the director of education piece was I'm going to find all these things out and I'm going to just give it to everybody and like literally be that middleman to say, hey, you can do this, right? You can do that, right? And the trainer's like, I didn't know that even existed. Exactly. So I was like, you know what? If you're not going to market your certification because it's worth it, then I'll do it. And so I did it as a director of education. But then the second piece is I'll never forget this. There was a young man who he was about 22, 23 years old. And he, walked out of Self-Made very upset. He couldn't get couldn't get clients. He wasn't making any money and that rent is due on the first of the month. So he had to pay that rent. And he said, F Self-Made because they didn't give me any leads. Now, I asked him, I said, hey man, I hear you, but I've been here for X amount of time and Self-Made has never given me a lead. I had to go out there and get it. I was at, Old Town Temecula while they had their 4th of July parade, handing out flyers. Hey, you want to come train with me? You want to come train with me? I was doing podcasts. I was doing email marketing. I was doing mailers, doing mailers and stuff. I did all the marketing you can even think of for my business because it is self-made. And so I don't understand where you didn't understand the self part, you know? And he's like, well, they should have helped me. And I was like, instead of me getting upset, I wanted to seek the validity in that. Like, I'm like, where's the validity of we didn't help you? So I was like, what if I provided business classes and business seminars? Now, Dean Romero, who was there prior to me, was already doing this, but it wasn't widely known, but he was doing a really good job with it. I just took the reins of it and built it bigger. And so now I wanted to stop anybody from saying, you didn't help me out, or there was not enough provided for us. I was like, oh no, now it's provided for you. So now you really have to take ownership of the fact that you just suck at life. And that was all it was. And that's kind of, because I'm also very loyal, you know? So when somebody starts talking about, you know, whether it was the Marine Corps or even self-made, I'm like, you know, watch your mouth. You're talking about my family. You know what I mean?
So you're at the HQ and you get for the job there. Now, I know eventually you made your way to Dallas and you took over and became a franchise owner, which was your goal. So I guess kind of go into that next. Why did that happen?
So as a director of education, I was going around to each franchise and I was teaching. And truth be told, there's a measuring stick. Who's really good and who's really bad, right? Amongst the franchisees, even as a trainer. As a trainer, you size up everybody, and anybody says they don't, you're lying. You want to see how other people, some people are really good, and you're like, man, that person is really good. They're really good at what they do. And you kind of want to try to mimic, but you don't want to tell them they're really good. You know what I mean? You're like, I want to mimic what you're doing. Well, I started noticing franchise owners, and I was like, I could really do really well at being a franchise owner because I already understand leadership. I've led Marines into war, into combat. I've led, you know, recruits into boot camp. And so I'm like, I think I can do this, you know? And so I wanted to be a franchise owner, and did. And I ended up, you know, saying, okay, you know what? I'm going to take over the San Diego location. But let's just be real. After 2020 and COVID, California just started really getting on my nerves. And I was like, I need out of this damn place. You know, it was just, everything was getting really just stupid. And me and the CEO and founder were, you know, we're both alphas. And I was actually, you know, a few years older than him as well. And it just got to a point where I really had to ask myself, do I want to work for somebody? Am I a better boss than I am an employee? You know, and that kind of really sat in me. And May 15th, I had a conversation with a buddy of mine that lives in Texas. He is just retired from the military, and he was like, hey man, you should move out here, check out my house. And he had this big 4,200 square foot house. I will never forget. And he shows me it on FaceTime, and I said, how much you pay for that? He said, $500,000. I was like, you are out of your mind. Are you serious? And he's like, yeah. I say, I'm moving tomorrow, you know? And I asked the wife, and she's like, why not? Let's go. And I was like, all right, let's see if we can do this. So I contacted the franchise owner at the time here. He didn't want it. He was a financial investor. He didn't really want this. So I told him, look, I'll buy the facility from you. What do you think? And he was like, I'll sell it to you in a heartbeat. And I said, very well. So I was like, next step, let me see if I can sell my house. I sold my house literally in 2 months in California, and I bought a new house here in Texas. I got 1,000 more square feet of house and 33,000 more square feet of land for the same price that I had at my home in California. And I was like, yeah, this was a great move. You know, so I ended up coming out here. I knew it was a failing facility. I knew that it was about to tank. There was no culture. There was no leadership. It was the wild, wild west. Trainers were just doing whatever they wanted to do in here. No discipline, no structure. And it was like, oh yeah, this is my cup of tea. This is the type of stuff I like.
Like going into the war zone. And so I know that could be one of the difficulties of the model is like you got 1099 trainers that technically they can't do it.
No 1099s.
Oh, okay. Explain away.
They lease the space. It's a shared space. So it's just like they're leasing the space. They're not my employees. They're not my contracts. All they have to do is, it's like them signing an apartment lease.
So there's like agreed upon behavior rules that if you break, we can, you know, eject you, but
exactly.
Let's all play nice. But
So if the pool is closed at 10 o'clock, it's closed at 10 o'clock. I don't care if this
Sure.
is your place of residence or not.
Yes.
It's
So,
the same thing here. So we have our own house policies and things like that. But remember, those weren't really established when I got here. So I had 27 trainers in this place with no rules. That was fun.
so what give examples? I imagine it's because the owner's not on site leadership. This is an investment, but like dig into that. Like, what are some of the specifics that they're doing without that on site leadership?
A trainer having his dad train his clients while he went off to get something to eat. Kids like legitimately running around while trainers are training clients doing barbell squats.
Oh my
And the
God.
client and the kid running right in between the barbell squat and the person doing it.
Oh my God.
5 12-year-olds benching 225 pounds with no supervision around them.
Okay.
I could go on.
But yeah, I mean, it's just chaos.
Cursing up a storm. People, all types of people walking around with their shirts off. Sweat and all types of stuff on the equipment because their shirts are off and they're not cleaning up after themselves. Paper towels on the floor. Bathrooms with piss everywhere. Shit stains everywhere.
So the inmates are running the asylum, basically.
Oh yeah, I could tell you. Trust me, when I tell you a laundry list, it was a laundry list. Trainers that were intimidated and would hide in the corner with their clients because the other trainers that were more alpha would intimidate them, basically tell them they couldn't use the equipment over here. That's not for them, even though they're paying there. 27 trainers, 14 of them paying $950 and 13 of them paying between $425 and $875.
Wow, that's crazy. So
yeah, I keep going, man, but we'd be here all day.
So I guess there's probably a lot of things you did, but I guess for sake of time, share the top 2 or 3 that were the most meaningful that started to steer the culture the right way and change things around. Because I know it's way different.
Absolutely. Number 1 is everybody who was prior to me on day 1, September 1st, 2022. Anybody prior to that had signed prior to that is now at 900. If you don't like it, there's a door. So all of you at 950, thank you for your service to coming down to 900. And those of you that paying 425 to 875, you're coming up to 900. If you don't like it, you can go. They all stayed. For at least that first month. And then I started implementing house policies. So those house policies were based off of, my observation. So from August 17th, when I actually stepped foot all the way to September 1st, I actually just observed. I didn't do anything else. But I talked to people. I had a lot of resistance. A lot of people refused to say hello to me. And one of my things is I do twice a day is I get a fist pump from every single person in the gym. So when I walk in, I say hello and good morning, and I get a fist pump. And I had plenty of people who just looked me up and down and wouldn't even put their arms out. And then I would look at them and I'd say, don't worry, I'll be back later on to get my fist pump. And I'd walk off. And I'd come back later that afternoon if they were still there. What's up, man? Good afternoon. And eventually they would put their hand up and give me a fist bump because they knew I wasn't going to go anywhere. So I built a culture to where they were like, oh, this dude's really serious. Like he's going to come in every single day and he's going to say hello every single day. And he's going to get annoying to the point where I'm going to have to say hello. And then they eventually did. And then the other piece that I did was I did a lot of team building. So I was like, hey, gather all the team. I'm paying for Topgolf. I paid $1,800 for 4 base. And it only, I think 8 people showed up out of the 27. And then I was fine with it because we had a good time and I showcased it on social media. And then it became FOMO at the next one. And then next thing you know, I had 17 at the next one. This last one I just hosted, now I've been here 2.5 years, almost 3 years, right? This last one I just hosted, we had 32 people show up.
Wow.
So it takes time, but I developed a culture and I stood my ground. So when I got pushed back from a lot of people, I stood my ground and I explained to them the why. But I only explained to them the why one time. So I'm going to tell you the why. But then after this, we ain't doing this no more. So either you agree or you don't agree, but I'll respect your decision. Because if you don't agree, totally understand. But you can't be here. And one of my famous phrases is maybe my business model doesn't match your business model. And we're okay with that. It's okay. There's no reason to hate each other, no reason to be upset. We just don't fit.
Yes. All right. I love that. Because one of the things I think a lot of gym owners struggle with is building teams and standards and sticking to those things. And I've seen you build leaders within your team and give opportunities to people on your team of growth, and they're able to make more and ascend up into your, organization. So I guess two questions there. What can an owner do to better communicate their standards? Because I think they have them in their head, but they're not saying them, or they're not like holding people to them. So like, how could they first announce these standards and then hold their team accountable? And then the second, when conflict arises or those, challenging moments, how can they make their way through those situations and have it like a positive outcome,
Well, one of the things, great questions, because one of the things I'm really big on, and everybody knows me, is I'm really big on black and white. So there's no reason to sit here and talk about anything. Just refer to section 17.4 on your house policies. That to me is the easiest route.
But
It's
that's
like
the
all you gotta
first
do is
thing.
point.
You have them written. So like a lot of
Written.
people have them written, and that's important.
Mine, I had them written. I sent it out via text, PDF on text, and via email. So they received it. You got it. And if you didn't read through it, I didn't know that doesn't apply, because I sent it to you. So you had it. Now, the other thing is holding people accountable. So if you're going to put rules in place, here's where I see a lot of people, a lot of leaders have this thing, is that they dictate what's good for one, but not good for another. And your culture, the people around, will see that. They see when you pick and choose what rules apply to certain people because either you like them or you don't like them. It could be on either side of the coin, right? You have to be fair across the board. Now, what I will say this, the way you handle things with certain people because of their emotional standpoint, it could be up and down. You got to be a little mindful and strategic with certain people, right? Take, for instance, a pregnant trainer who, is going through a lot of emotions, or even a male alpha who's, I'm king of the world, I'm, on top of the world, you can't tell me nothing. You're going to have a difference between the way that you approach them, right? But the rule still stays the same. It doesn't change. The holding them accountable still is there. And I think that a lot of people have a hard time with that. We live in a fitness industry. We live in a very alpha world. It's like in order to be in the fitness industry, you are an alpha, and I say that because you have to understand who you're dealing with, your audience. And your audience sometimes doesn't take to aggression. Like I can yell and I can be firm, but I don't have to like present my power in that manner. I can legitimately tell somebody who's hooting and hollering and ranting and raving and getting all upset and going, I hear you, but refer to section 17.4. It's right there. And I didn't have to raise my voice. Well, I think that's bullshit. Good for you. Well, when you're the boss of your own building, you can do whatever you want to do. I told one trainer, I said, look, our business models don't match. Here's the deal. You want to be able to take your shirt off and sweat all over everything. You want to be able to hit on every woman that's in your gym. You want to be able to play music with curse words. So that way, it's the grind. It's the way the gym is. Go buy your own gym. And then you can do whatever the hell you want to do. It's a beautiful thing. Trust me, it's very nice. You can do whatever you want to do in that facility. And you can come and go as you please. You can have clients working out here and you're not even here. You can do that all in your own building. And he looked at me and he was like, I got you, Mark. I was like, I'm just saying, bro, because as long as you stay here, you're going to follow my rules. That's it. And now it's up to you. You let me know. And I didn't even tell him to let me know right there. I told him, I said, I'm going to give you the weekend to think about it. I'll see you on Monday. I came to him. He avoided me, by the way. I came to him later on and I said, hey, you thought about what we talked about last week? And he was like, I'm good. I was like, okay, appreciate it. And I walked off and I didn't harp on him. I didn't do nothing. And believe it or not, I swear to you, that happened about 7 or 8 months ago. I haven't had an issue since with that individual. And I still say what's up to him. He says what's up to me. It's love. There's no issues. He's very professional. He realized that, this dude is serious. Like he's going to hold his ground. And here's the other thing. I want to offer this one more thing. What a lot of people don't understand is the upholding of discipline and structure actually makes you more money. And I think a lot of gym owners fail to understand that. You uphold structure, the consumers love structure. and they love discipline. They love professionalism, and they're going to pay top dollar for professionalism. And if you can uphold that with your team or the people that work with you, and they understand the benefits because now that money's going in their pockets. Where I had trainers who thought $30, $40 a session was a normal price point are now charging between $100 to $150 a session. And they're like, Mark, we get it now. I'm like, I try to tell you, if you're professional, you'll make more money. And guess what? I don't get a cut of that. So the self-made model, if Dustin Bogle is a trainer in my facility, he pays his rent on the first of the month, regardless if he makes $25,000 to $30,000 a month or $5,000 a month. I get no cut of what his clients pay him. I just get my rent on the first of the month.
Gym owners, I don't want you to have the reputation in town as the gym that doesn't call people back, all right? We know it's critical when someone's finally made a decision to get healthy and fit that we get to them as quickly as possible. This can be solved by plugging in our remote sales reps, okay? It's not AI, it's not a bot, it's a real human that's working on your leads, the new ones that come in from your ads and the old leads in your database. And they're there to qualify the leads, to ask them discovery questions and to make sure they're a good fit. And then their job is to move them forward in your sales process so that you get more members month over month. All right, if you want to learn about our remote sales reps, go ahead and go to gymreinforcements.com, book a call, and we'll tell you more about it. See you then. Nice. That's a really cool, unique model. And again, I think that you will see gym owners treat their team differently. And usually it's because of seniority. It's like, oh, well, they've been here 5 years, I'll cut them some slack. But all you're teaching is your new people that come in is like, oh, I just have to outlast them or I got to wait for them to go to get that treatment. And then they'll be thinking, well, I get it now when I've been here a long time, right? And so it's like, again, it's got to be the law of the land, and even it's got to have to be on the owner, right? The owner can't come in and work out shirtless and then tell his whole team that they can't, right? So that's what true leadership and standards are, and that's what you set. And then the business changed, and I imagine again it grew, became healthier, more revenue, more profit.
I went from 27 trainers to 58 trainers in 10 months. I damn near tripled my revenue, and currently I sit at 63 trainers. My average trainer count since October of 2023 is 58 trainers.
So didn't move the gym, didn't expand the space. It's just changed who runs the place and the leader on site and the standards being held. And then boom, business grows.
And I care.
That too.
So when I see a trainer that's down and out, I'll walk up to them and say, hey, depending on the person, but most of them, I'll be like, what's wrong with you? And they'll look at me and be like, I lost 5 clients, man. It's just, I don't know how I'm going to cut it. You need to sit down and talk to me? Yeah, you know what? Yeah, I'll bring them in here. I got my whiteboard right behind me that you see. And I'll be like, let's mark out your business plan. Let's see where you're marketing. Let me see your social media. Oh, you ain't posted in 3 weeks. No wonder why visibility is profitability. So if you're not getting on social media, nobody knows who the hell you are. So let's talk about that. And we'll start devising a plan. Next thing you know, they walk out. I've had damn near almost, I would say 40% of my trainers, around 40 to 45% of my trainers hit their first 6 figures last year.
Wow.
Ever in their life.
Some gym owners don't make that, man, and they have all the stress of running a business, and these guys are paying your rent and working in your gym. That's awesome.
I've got about 6 trainers that are making over $25K a month.
Nice.
Yeah. And some that I have one that's making $18K and hasn't had a new client in 2 years.
Nice. That's awesome.
So it's the value is, but notice too, how many people know their actual people. How many leaders know their actual people? I can tell you about I can tell you pretty much every single trainer that's in the facility, all 63 of them right now. I can tell you where they come from. I tell you how many kids they got. I can tell you what's their house, their family dynamics looks like. I could tell you what motivates them. I can tell you how old they are. I wish them happy birthday. I send out happy birthday messages on everybody's birthday. They're all in my calendar. You build a culture based off of caring. Like, you got to care. And so I genuinely care about all of these people's success. So when they win, I win.
Love it. Well, let's shift gears, man. I wanted to bring up the tragedy that happened in the self-made world and, what happened to the founder and CEO. So if you can share what you can. Obviously, you want to be respectful of family, and then how it's affected you and what you do inside the organization now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've had the pleasure and the privilege of being next to Miguel Aguilar, during the time that he was here on this earth. He did pass December 21st of 2024 of last year. He was tragically shot during a attempted armed robbery September 13th, and he passed December 21st. He fought for, quite a few months, and he ended up, passing. And during that time, it was all the franchises were very lost. They were like, what do we do now? He's the face of this company. It was his company. He built and created and, did all this. And a lot of them looked at me for guidance. But they also looked at me like, are you going to take it over or what? And I'm not going to lie to you. I was a little hesitant because I was comfortable here in Dallas. I have other businesses as well, which we'll talk about here in a few, but I wasn't prepared mentally, I would say, at that point, to take over this whole conglomerate, this whole, corporation. But when the franchisees, the majority of them, not all of them, because we did have some that were like, we don't want him as a CEO, and it's fine. There were some that were like, no, we want him. He's the only one that could do it. And so I had a moment to think about it, and I said, you know what? I'll take it. Let's do it. And one of the things about me is that if I commit, then I embrace the shit show and I don't stop. So I see so many people that they commit to something at first, and then when the shit gets hard, they're like, oh, I'm out. And I'm like, no, we don't play that game. So I embrace the shit show, the circus, as I like to call it, and it's now my circus. It's now my shit show. So that's what I did. January 3rd, I became the CEO of this company. And when I say shit show, I say that respectfully, because being a CEO, everybody thinks it's glitz and glamour. This is not for the weak. It's not for the weak, and I think that there's a perception that's out there like, CEOs live this lavish life. Not the ones that actually really work. The ones that really put in the effort, and have to build and have to make sure that things are done the correct way. It is a tough pill. And you have to be battle tested, battle worn, have some Teflon, because the shots are going to come at you. And you are now the focal point of everybody's failures. So when somebody fails, it's your fault, not theirs. Even if it's 100% their fault, And so that's what I did. I took over and I said, this is now my show. So I'm currently the CEO of Self-Made Training Facility Franchising. And it's been an interesting 4.5 months in this seat.
Well, congrats,
or 3.5,
man. I mean, that's
3.5 months.
That's
Thank
big
you.
news. I'm excited for you, and I think that's the right answer. Is like, who else? Who else would step up? You, a guy that's been built from the ground up inside of the brand, that is living and breathing it. Of course, it totally makes sense, and I couldn't think of anybody better. And like you said, there was a hot mess. So I was curious, what has been the biggest one, if you could share that you had to tackle and wrestle with?
Oh, yeah. Franchising is an interesting thing. And what I've learned about franchising, because, I do my research. It's not just, let's go off the cuff and all that stuff. It's like, no, do your research. And I researched all these other franchises that are out there. There's a wonderful book called Profitable Partnerships. I don't know if you've heard of it. Profitable Partnerships is a phenomenal book if you want to become a franchisee or a franchisor. And it was given to me by a great friend of mine, Steve Kopshaw. And he was like, hey, you need to read this book. And I said, all right. And I read it from start to finish. I've actually read it 3 times. But it speaks on the environment of franchising, which is a very, 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 very tough environment if you're not ready for it. And I would say my learning lesson is all those things encompassing with franchising. There's people that buy into a franchise because of the personality of the person. And then there's people who buy into the franchise for the actual brand, right? And the business model itself. Figuring out who is who it can be a difficult thing. And of course, because not everybody's going to be 100% honest with you. You have to kind of, really peel through everything and do your investigative work to figure out what side of the line are they on. Because now that Miguel is gone, you had those that bought into the personality of Miguel, which he was a phenomenal person, phenomenal salesman, a face of the company. I mean, he was the brand, right? And people bought into that. But they didn't buy into the brand and the business model, which is the mentorship and the leadership of the trainers for them to become successful business owners. That's the motto. So when you're like, oh, I just want to be part of the cool crowd, and then wait, the guy who was the leader of the cool crowd is gone now. Well, I don't know if I want to be part of this anymore. And so that's been quite a learning lesson.
And is this something that they could sell it? They can find someone who is bought in on the brand. Could an owner go and expand and own multiple? Could they internally sell to somebody within, or are they thinking like, that's a wrap, I want to shut this sucker down because Miguel?
I mean, all of the above.
Yeah.
I mean, they have the opportunity to do all the above. Some are locked in, their 7-year term. But a lot of those 7 years is up this year because, he started franchising in 2017. So 2024 was like a lot of franchisees, and 2018, 2017 was when he franchised. So those are now coming up to their expiration date. And they're like, well, if Miguel's not here, I don't want to be here anymore. So, and that's something that I have to accept. So what I decided is, as a CEO, coming in, again, doing observation, seeing for the first quarter, I did observation. I just wanted it. I flew, like you say, I'm always on a plane, right? I flew to every single franchise and talked to their owners and wanted to see their issues, their insights.
Went to every single one? How many locations is that?
20.
Wow.
I went to every single one and I sat with them kneecap to kneecap. And I said, what's your insights? What's your issues? And what's your outlook? So I wanted to know what your insight is, what kind of suggestions you have to make us better. What are your problems? Are they solvable? And then what's your outlook? Do you want to stay with the brand or not? And I talked to every single one and I got my answers. And so first quarter, that's what it was all about. Now, second quarter is about, okay, now it's time to shit or get off the pot. Which one is it? Either you're going to stay here and we roll this bad boy together, or you go ahead and exit out. And then, we wish you the best. And so I'm building, but in that interim as well, I'm also fixing the infrastructure to what I believe needs to be the structure that is so plug and play and so foundationally like sound that, again, just like the trainer who said F self-made because they didn't get me any leads. And I built the education system to say, yeah, you can't never say that again because we're giving you all that education, is the same manner of what I'm doing right now with the franchises as a whole. It's like, you can never say you didn't have. You've got everything at your disposal. Now, the only real person to look at is your work ethic.
Yes. And so what are, I guess, the upcoming innovations that you want to be, deploying within the franchise to make it match what's going on in the business landscape? We got AI, we got tariffs, we got all these things that are happening. And so like, what do you see as like the things that you want to deploy to keep it ahead of the cutting edge, right? And to make self-made continue to grow?
So currently we have a partnership with Lionel University, and we have the Miguel Aguilar Memorial Fund, which it's a scholarship to be able to get an associate's, bachelor's, or master's degree in exercise science. So it's a full ride. We do one full ride a year, and we do 4 partial scholarships, so 1 a quarter, where we give out partial scholarships. So that's one. I'm definitely enhancing all of our partnerships with all types of different entities. And we have, of course, our Manifest Fitness Institute, which is my other business, which we are now implementing in different locations where people can get certified and so many other certifications, but it's now one hub. It's one place that they can come to get that. We also provide a Trainerize, so they can do their online platform. So they have in-house and online capability to be able to make money. That's provided to the trainers as they come in. And we do classes on it as well. We do business mentorship classes once a week in each location, free. So you literally can sit in a class. I just got done at 12 o'clock doing mine, and I got one at 5 o'clock this afternoon where anybody can come in, and I teach business. Today was all about business planning. That was our class today. So we have that. We have just an array of different opportunities that present themselves, like trainers to be able to host events, charity events, things of that nature. I partnered with Special Olympics, for us to do charity work for them throughout the United States. Like, there's so many different things that we're bringing to the table that's so much value. It's to the point where I want to provide so much value through Self-Made Training Facility that you won't get it anywhere else. There could be a whole bunch of competitors out there. I could care less, but we will provide you so much value that you're like, there's no way I should go anywhere else. I'm not going to get everything that I can get here over there. And again, we're not everybody's cup of tea. I get it. But at the end of the day, you won't deny our value. You won't ever say F self-made because they didn't give anything. No, you just didn't use it. There's going to be enough resources and tools for you to have a sound business and build a financial freedom and a lifestyle of your own. You're your own boss.
Yes. Okay. All right. That's awesome, man. In terms of like cranking up franchise sales, what's the plan there? Are you planning to expand? Or are you just more in a stabilized phase right now? Like, what's the plan with growing the franchise and opening more locations?
I won't open any franchises until our infrastructure is 100% sound. So I told all my current franchisees that I am not selling any franchises till 2026. So this whole year is about rebuilding. It's about fixing the holes that are in the processes, building SOPs, and making sure that everything is good to go. But then also fostering relationships. You know, when you start fostering relationships, nurturing relationships, current and, future, that way when 2026 comes around, it's a surefire thing. If you're in the fitness industry and you want to mentor trainers or you want to be somebody of a mentorship standpoint, there would be a no-brainer than to franchise a self-made training facility. And it's advantageous monetarily as well, because the financial status and the financial sheet that you'll be able to see would be a no-brainer. Right now, I'm currently at 48% net profit. You're not going to get that in a membership gym. You'll get 18% net profit, if that.
Yeah. Well, that sounds like a great opportunity, man. So where could people follow you? Like, again, this has been an awesome conversation, but I want to be respectful of your time. Where could they follow you? Because again, I know you drop a lot of great leadership nuggets. You also show an inside peek and behind the scenes of what you're doing with your team at, Self-Made Dallas and Self-Made HQ. So where could they go to follow you? And then maybe when you do reopen, the opportunity to get franchises, they can also go and inquire about that. Where would be the places to go?
Yeah, you can follow me at JustRod, JUSTROD _enterprises. That's the best way to find me as far as the Instagram is concerned. You can find me on LinkedIn as well, Marc, M-A-R-C, Rodriguez, RODRIGUEZ. And then you can also email me, Marc, marc.jre1@gmail.com. So you can go ahead and reach out to me there as well. Check out our self-made training facility website as well. That's another way to get in touch. But, otherwise, you can reach out to me and I'll give you whatever insights I can provide you or guide you to the right team member that can give you the information that you need. And, we definitely got to do a part 2 of this, Dustin, because I only spoke of one of the 6 businesses that I got. I would love to tell everybody because, and here's a preview for our part 2, right? Is how do you take your ideas, make businesses out of them, and then vertically integrate them?
Nice. Okay. And I'm sure
look up Jeff Fernster with Everbowl. So shout out to Jeff Fernster with Everbowl. If you read up upon him and his story, he's actually the person that taught me at a conference. I went to a conference and he was the one that taught me about vertical integration, and I've been sold ever since.
Nice. Okay. Well, I definitely think there'll be a part 2, man. So we'll get it on the books and we won't leave these guys hanging. So appreciate you, man. If you guys enjoyed it, tag us on social media, like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next week.
Hey, hold on. If you're in the Dallas area, come check out Self-Made Training Facility Dallas. Come say hello, give me a high five, fist pump. And if you're interested, come check us out.
Hey, gym owners, let's face it, you probably don't love digital marketing. You probably don't want to go into Facebook and load the ad up and think of ad copy and creatives and optimize it daily. Well, hand that over to me and my team because we're geeks about marketing and we want to flood your gym with new members so you can change their life. Let us do what we do best. All right, go to gymreinforcements.com, book a call. Don't bring the credit card. It's not a hard pitch. It's just a conversation to see if we're a good fit. Talk soon.